Bunnicula, the Vampire Bunny, by James Howe, illustrated by Jeff Mack. Chapter 1, The Arrival. My name is Harold. I am a dog. I live with the Monroes, Toby and Pete, and Mr. and Mrs. Monroe. Chester lives here too. Chester is a cat, but I like him anyway. Things were pretty normal until Bunnicula arrived. Bunnicula came to us one dark and stormy night. It happened like this. The Monroes were going to the movies. "Take care of the house, Harold," they said. "You're the watchdog." That's what they always say when they go out. On this evening, the wind was howling, lightning was flashing, rain was falling, and I thought it was a good night to be inside. The Monroes must have thought so too. Suddenly, they burst through the door. "He's mine! I found him!" Toby yelled. "You sat on him, you mean," Pete yelled back. "I found him," Toby repeated, "and he's sleeping in my room." My ears perked up. I often sleep in Toby's room. On Fridays, Toby has late-night snacks. My favorite is chocolate cupcakes with cream in the middle, but that's another story. In this story, Mr. Monroe said, "Stop fighting, you two. The rabbit stays right here in the living room." "Rabbit?" Chester and I looked at each other. And then we took a closer look at what Mr. Monroe was holding. It was a shoebox, but inside the shoebox was a tiny black and white creature. It had long ears and a puff of a tail. So this is a rabbit, I thought. The rabbit had a note tied around its neck. "Take good care of my baby." The note read, "Who would leave a rabbit at the movies?" Toby asked. "Especially a scary movie like Dracula," said Pete. "Dracula?" Chester gasped. Of course, no one heard him except me. "What shall we name him?" Toby asked. "How about Fluffy?" Mrs. Monroe suggested. Oh, there she goes again, I thought. Mrs. Monroe was always trying to name some poor pet Fluffy. Chester and I had both been Fluffy for a few terrible days. "Let's call him Dracula," Toby said. "That's dumb," Pete cried. "It's not, it is so." "Now, boys, we'll have to come up with a name both of you can agree on," Mr. Monroe said. "Okay," the boys said, but they didn't sound too sure. Mrs. Monroe thought for a moment. "Let's see. We found him at a Dracula movie, and he's a bunny rabbit. How about Bunnicula?" "Bunnicula. Not bad," Pete said with a laugh. "Perfect," Toby agreed. "Count Bunnicula." Crack! At that very moment, there was a clap of thunder and a flash of lightning. The rabbit's eyes glowed red, but no one seemed to notice, except Chester and me. "I wish they had named him Fluffy," Chester said. And we'll get to chapter 2 tomorrow.